Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet right here on Metal Messiah Radio. Tonight I have with us a very special guest who has been in the music industry forever, extensive career in the music business. I have David Ingram on, currently the vocalist in Hail of Bullets. Welcome to the show, David.
Well, thank you very much. And by the way, you say David, but it can be Dave. I really don't mind. The only reason I changed it is because I have a very close friend who's on Facebook called Dave Ingram, and he's a musician in a metal band too. So there's a lot of confusion. So I thought, okay, I'll be David.
All right, I'll mix it up. I'll call you Dave and David throughout the whole thing.
Cool. Cool.
Now, Dave, like I mentioned, you have quite an extensive career, and this is only a 2-hour show, so we'll try to get as much in as we can. So let's start out with you joining up with a Benediction. How did that all come about, and how long were you with them?
Well, it was 1990, and I was in this punk hardcore band called Plague, and we defined our music as bloody awful. So it was sort of a grindcore, the crustcore stuff, but we weren't very good at it. And I was the bass player, and the singer was going to leave. So I'd been taking over the singing duties, and I went to a bar one night, the local bar in Birmingham where I lived at the time. And Benediction were in there, and they looked all down and dejected. And I went to them and said, "What's wrong?" And they said, "Oh, we've lost our singer, Barney's left." And I said, "Well, give me an audition, I'll do it. I've been singing." And they said, "Yeah, okay." And that was on a Wednesday evening. The audition was Saturday, so I had 3 days to learn about 6 songs. And I did that, and did the audition, and it was, again, just... The following Wednesday, we were out having a drink, and they said, "Yeah, you've got the job. The job's yours."
and what a job, right? You were a big part of them from what, recording 6 of their 9 albums with them. I mean, what was that whole experience with that band like? It just sounds kind of crazy the way you explain it, singing with a punk band. See some sad little fellows. Next thing you know, you're their freaking singer for like 6 freaking albums.
Yeah, well, I can't remember how many albums exactly. I think, let me just see, Grand Leveler, Dark as the Season. Well, Dark as the Season was an EP. Mm-hmm. Transcend the Rubicon, a full-length album. And then there was the Grotesque Ashen Epitaph EP. Then The Dreams You Dread and Grind Bastard. Yeah, that's 6 releases.
Okay.
And they've had 8 releases out. They had 2 more after I left. Which they were excellent releases as well. I won't fault those. But yeah, it was 8 years I was in the band.
And what was your experiences like, though, Dave, with them? You know, now you're traveling all over. You were a freaking punk singer.
Yeah, and it had been in my heart for years that I wanted to do that, and I had so much drive for it. And even though I was in a punk band before, I was actually offered a job as an accountant at the company I was working at. Yeah, I know. And they were going to pay for my education. They were going to give me eventually a company car, and I could have taken over the head accountant's job. And I would have been set for life. But then Benediction came along, and I was like, "No, I'm doing the band." And I just turned it down, and I've never regretted it, not one moment. Not one moment. And there were ups and downs with Benediction. There always are with bands, and especially when you're living with people in each other's pockets for weeks on end on tour. You know, there's always a bit of friction now and again, because there's always personality clashes. But it was good. Towards 95, 96, the band began to sort of, I don't know, they had management brought in, and there wasn't much of an information loop. And I was being told about gigs a week before they were happening, and when we were supposed to be rehearsing, and I wasn't told, so I never went, and I would get some rather horrible phone calls complaining why I wasn't there. It's just because I didn't know. and this went on until 98, and I moved to Denmark, and I'm living here in Copenhagen now, and I've been here since then. It's 18 years, and but. When I moved over here, I said, "It's got to stop. You've got to let me know. It's not like I can do this anymore." And, it basically, a long story short, it continued. So I just said, "I've had enough. I quit." Mm-hmm. And then I stayed on to do the last 2 shows, pretty big shows with the band. And then I called it a day, and I quit on the 4th of May in 1998, and it was sometime in late August, I think the 24th or 25th of August, that Baz from Bolt Thrower called me up and said, "You're not doing anything else with Benediction. Would you like to join Bolt Thrower?" And I said, "Oh, yes."
That was going to be my next question. So,
Yeah.
but before we talk about Bolt Thrower, Dave, what was it like? I mean, we're talking a whole different age of metal back then. I mean, what was it like back then for you as a performer as compared to like nowadays?
Well, it's obviously different. I mean, technology's advanced. Back then, there were no laptops. Like, there's no Skype. There was hardly any internet as well. Digital recording was only just coming in recording studios. Nowadays, it's so much easier to record. But that's one aspect of it. The music business was more, I would say, respectful of itself when it comes down to sharing of music online, and it was tape trading. It was it was more personal as well. You would send a tape to someone, and they'd send it back in return, and yeah, that was the way it was back then. And I think that these days it's a little spoiled because of the technology, but that's how things change. It's not so much a revolution, but more an evolution.
Well said.
It will change, and it will move on and become something different, but it will still have the underlying death metal sound.
Right.
I think.
Right. Okay, so now you were talking about getting in with Bolt Thrower, how they just approached you. So tell us about that. Like, so here you are, you're like, heck yeah, I'm ready to go. So what was that whole thing like? So tell us about, getting in with them and performing with them and your experiences with them.
Well, it was in '96, actually, 2 years prior to me leaving Benediction. They played a festival in Germany, and Bolt Thrower rarely played festivals at this time. And the singer at that time, Martin, had left the band, and they needed someone to do it. So they approached me and said, "Can you just help us out for this one show?" And I did. I had several rehearsals with them and went over and played the show, and everyone was very happy. And then they went back to their hometown and started writing a new album, which was the Mercenary album. And Carl came in and re-recorded, he recorded vocals for them. He came back in to record with them. But just for the album, he wasn't going to tour live with them. And the reason they didn't ask me to record the album is because Benediction were releasing Grindbastard at around the same time. And they didn't want the parallel to go out, which is a pretty smart move, actually. And then, they found out about me leaving Benediction, and I got the call, and I wasn't going to turn that down. And I did the big European tour for Mercenary, which was called Into the Killing Zone, and then we came back and did the odd festival and show here and there, and then there was the recording Honor Valor Pride album. And then a little later on, in 2000, which was before recording Honor Valor Pride, actually, my sister committed suicide. And over the next 3 years, I got gradually worse in illness, and the pressure built up, and some guilt and depression. And I had a breakdown, and I knew that I just couldn't continue the band until I got better. And I wasn't going to have them wait for 2-3 years. I honestly did not know how long it would take. So I said, look, I've got to take a bullet in this and walk away. I'm not going to let you guys suffer. And it worked out really well in the end because of my future projects that went on, which I can get to in a bit, but also they got Carl back. And it was, for Carl as well, it was the perfect timing. He really wanted to get back into doing it, and Bolt Thrower were there. So, that was that tale.
Well, it's like you said, it had to be a hard decision to leave that band, but at least you knew what was best for everybody involved instead of just being like, you know what, I'm just going to stay with them through and then making everybody suffer. I think in the long run, like you said, it was the best decision for everybody. And then you went on to so much stuff anyways.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff I did right after Bolt Thrower, a band called Downlord here in Copenhagen with some friends. It's a very small band. We put out a couple of releases, a full-length album, and quite a long EP. It's almost an album's length as well. And we actually toured with Bolt Thrower around Scandinavia, Copenhagen, and some Swedish shows. So we achieved what we set out to do. And after a while, we said, well, we've done it. Let's just move on to the next thing, which was internet radio. Because one of the guys in the band is a guy from California. My best friend, actually, Donovan, he said about internet radio, and we talked it all over, and as soon as Download was finished, we began the internet radio show, and that's been going for 8.5 years.
Wow.
Although Donovan's no longer on the show, I've got other people in as well now, but yeah, it's going strong.
And so, what other projects did you have after you left Bolt Thrower? I mean, like, you know, you said you did that little band thing, and at least you had the internet radio to keep you occupied indefinitely.
Yeah.
What's going on in the metal and rock and music business. I mean, when you're in this kind of business, you know everything that's going on, so you can have some kind of material for your shows. But was it this that got you all excited? It's like, I gotta do something else. I can't just sit here and talk on the computer. I gotta get out there.
Yeah, there were a few other little projects. I mean, Download was 2 albums and a handful of shows. And we were actually writing music, me and Donovan together, just the two of us. And cool. There were a few projects that would write to me and say, hey, you know, would you do vocals on our demo? And so, yeah, sure. And there was one band that sent something through, and it was all love songs, and I had to send it back and say, get out of here. And yeah, so, you know, there was things going on, but they were all just small, tiny projects. And there were so many, I can't remember them all. I apologize to any of those bands listening. I really enjoyed doing it, but I can't remember it. And I've had hard drive crashes, so I lost a lot of data. So if those bands are listening, get in touch and let me have the songs again, right? But then in 2013, I was approached by Roger Johansson, the Swedish metal mastermind, and he asked if I would participate on one of his releases, Mega Scavenger, and I recorded that and sent it through to him. At the same time, I'd had a request from Just Before Dawn, another Swedish band. They're another project band with a lot of different members from other bands, and they asked me, and I did that as well. And I began to think, I want to get back into this, be full time, and I wrote to Roger and I said, how about we do an album together? And we started doing Down Among the Dead Men. That was the first band. We did the first album, which was self-titled. And then about 18 months later, we wrote a second one, which was called Exterminate, Annihilate, Destroy. Now, it's not a hidden fact. I am a huge Doctor Who fan. So that's where that album title came from, and also the songs on the previous album. Even the band name is related to Doctor Who. But we were writing that. We finished the album, and we did a cover version on it, Forged in Fire by Anvil, the one that Benediction had covered some 22 years previously. And Roger hadn't heard anything like or played anything like that before. So he said, let's write some more heavy metal orientated music. And he got a few songs and he added a few more. And so became the next project, Echelon. And that first album, Indulgence Over Abstinence Behind the Obsidian Veil. Yeah, I'm really sorry about the long title. And we're writing a second album right now. In fact, the album's written, the drums and the guitars are recorded. I've got my microphone and another mixer set up in a separate room where I've got to record the vocals. It's just getting the incentive. I'm supposed to have finished it by now. but I haven't even started. I've had a few problems at home that I've had to sort out. Not just a few personal things, and I'll get onto it the rest of this week. If I can record a couple of songs a day, I'll have it finished by the weekend. So that's no problem.
So is that going to be just a studio project, or do you guys plan on doing some playing out with this as well?
Well, the thing is, that's what we had planned on, that it would just be studio. But we're thinking we can maybe do a tour, or even just a handful of shows, of both Echelon and Down Among the Dead Men songs, and mix it up. Because the songs are all pretty damn strong. And I think we could certainly do that. Maybe instead of having backdrops of the two logos, just have a backdrop where we can project the logo, and then when we change whichever band we change into for the next number, we can just change the logo around on the projection.
Sounds like you got it all planned out.
Well, yeah. Whether or not it will happen, I don't know. But Rogger's really into the idea of playing some shows, and therefore so am I, because his band that he was playing, Paganizer, they've sort of toned it down. They're not really playing so much live anymore, if at all. I don't know for certain, but. And then it comes to one other project which no one's really heard of yet because it hasn't been completed or it hasn't been released. It's a band called Ursinne. That's Ursinne. It's a very old Swedish word for a very angry mind. A very compact language as well. But we're recording the album now. It's with myself and Johnny Peterson, who's in Ashcloud and Wombbath. And I can say that because he's Scandinavian and living in England, and I'm an Englishman living in Scandinavia, the overall sound of this is that it sounds more Swedish than Sweden. That's the only way I can sort of say it to people. There's a few cover versions on the album as well. Things that, I'm not going to say what they are, they're going to be a surprise, but it's not what you'd expect from a death metal band that sounds like this.
I'm thinking some ABBA.
Well, no, nothing actually Swedish, but there's some cracking stuff on there. I mean, even the original songs from the band as well. I'm really looking forward to recording that. And I think once I've got the Echelon done, I can get down to serious business. Not that the Echelon album isn't serious, it certainly is. It's just, with the personal problems going on at the moment, it's a strain. But I can get there. I'm strong enough.
So we're looking forward to that too. So now you got stuff going on with Echelon. You have stuff going on with, how do you pronounce it again? Ursinne?
Ursinne.
Ursinne.
That's it.
So, okay, I'm going to get this down eventually. So you have stuff going on with both of them, both active.
There's probably a third Down Among the Dead Men album on the way too.
And now that stuff that you're doing with Raga as well?
Yeah.
Okay, I got it straight now. You're into so much, I don't know how you could even possibly keep it all straight, Dave.
Yeah, it's... Sometimes I do mix it up and put one set of lyrics to the wrong song. It does happen. It does happen.
So now, let's get on to our good friends in Hail a Bullet. Now, Dave, Hail a Bullet is known for having the same freaking lineup. Year after year, nothing ever changes. Then all of a sudden, you're in there. So how was it like for you? I mean, how did they approach you with this, first of all?
Well, they didn't. I approached them. I was kind of cheeky. There's a thing that I try to master, a thing called lesser magic. It's like sleight of hand or manipulating people by speech and that sort of thing. It's called lesser magic. And what I did is I went onto I heard that Sir Martin was out of the band, and I went onto their Facebook page because I use Facebook quite a lot. So I went to their page and saw the article about it, and I just wrote a comment on there saying, "Well, if you guys need a singer for the Maryland Death Fest, I can help you guys out. You know, just give us a call or drop me a line," and it was public. So all the Hail of Bullets people were reading it. And they were commenting on, yeah, get this dude in, dude. And so it was that. And eventually they could see that it was a good idea from the public. And they wrote to me and said, do you want to give this a go? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And it was never made public, not even to me. They didn't even tell me that they wanted me to join until I was on stage with them at the Maryland Death Fest. And Stefan put his hand up to me and said, just a minute. And he went to the microphone and said, let's have a round of applause for our new permanent singer, Dave Ingram. And it's like, oh, fucking hell. Yeah. I mean, it was emotional enough because I was wearing a T-shirt with Martin from Bolt Thrower on it.
Uh-huh. It sounds almost like a marriage proposal up on stage, surprising you.
Yeah. And, with Martin's passing from the drummer, it had really affected me, even though I hadn't been in the band for so long.
Yeah.
But he was a friend and a comrade, and
David, I didn't mean to cut
okay.
you off, but like you were mentioning, with his passing, it affected so many people in the industry, and of course you playing with them, and even the whole entire band of Bolt Thrower. Just, it was so emotional. They couldn't even go on at the time. It's just
no.
A very sad thing. So what were some of your memories with him then? Now that you mentioned it, I mean, what was it like working with him over the years?
Oh, it was brilliant. I mean, his youth brought a vibrancy to the band, really did. He listened to a lot of mainstream music, Slayer and Faith No More, which is fine. I'm not complaining about that. The tour bus was kind of a weird place for him, I think, because he would want to listen to Slayer and Faith No More, and everyone would say, no, we're going to put Rudimentary Peni or Discharge or Crass or something like that on there, or the Stranglers. Yeah, I mean, I was into all those. I could also listen to Slayer and Faith No More. So, but yeah, and there were funny times as well. There's one story I actually mentioned on my radio show on Metal Breakfast Radio. Was one time at a concert we were playing live, and something happened, and I turned to Martin and I mumbled something through the microphone, and he misheard me. So for the rest of that show, he was pissed off at me for some reason. And right afterwards, he came up to me, he was staring me in the face. He said, "Are you dissing me? Are you dissing me?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" All I said was, "It's not your problem. It's not your fault." And we had a laugh about it afterwards. It's just that he played the entire show beating the hell out of the drum kit because he was pissed off at me.
Well, hey, if you ever wanted him to play harder, you just knew what to do then. Just piss the dude off. So, David, what's it been like then? I mean, here you were, like you said, playing the Maryland Death Fest. Now, was this your first show as their singer, or did you do a couple other ones?
No, I had 2 rehearsals with them prior to that, and that was the very first show.
Oh, my God.
What I'd done is in the 6 or 8 months prior to this, I began listening to the songs, and I got versions that had the vocals stripped out so that I could sort of mumble along while I was at work through my iPod. And I sort of, and I could get away with it. So basically, I was rehearsing the entire set every day for 8 months. Mm-hmm. And also at home here, I re-recorded my vocals onto the songs. There's one that's been released. It's on YouTube. Stefan put it out, a clip of it anyway. Mm-hmm. Swoop of the Falcon. Mm-hmm. It's that one. Mm-hmm. And I did that so that the guys could hear me singing, and it was a really easy way of doing it. And but that was also the first concert I'd ever played in a decade.
Damn! And what an opening show for you, huh?
Well, yeah.
Because the Maryland Death Fest, I mean, that's huge everywhere, especially here in the United States. But it's a perfect show for you, really, David, to get out there, to kind of debut yourself, even though you didn't kind of know that you were the permanent singer at the time. But, with Hail of Bullets, because that show is all, it's all really great metal, a lot of death metal, some black metal, but there's not anything like, nothing against Korn or anything. So, like, you got Korn on the bill, too. You know how some of these bills are so mishmashed. So it was like your people anyways, so to speak. So I could just imagine, here you are, all these things. You've got the memory of Martin, you're wearing the shirt, you're on stage for the first time in America at Maryland Death Fest, replacing the singer of Hail of Bullets. It's been there forever. And then, jeez, I'm surprised you didn't pass out.
Well, the only way I'd have passed out was because of the heat. And as I did say to the crowd on stage, I live in Denmark, the icy north, and our summer is rain, and our winter is snow, ice giants, bite all the snow dog, and all those things. And then we had this heat. I don't know how hot it was. I couldn't tell, but I was hot. And the sun, like that ball in the sky. What the hell was that? We don't see that here. But yeah. Anyway, but that was the only way I would have passed out. But I was careful. I did cheers the crowd with a hip flask full of Jack Daniels, which just even taking a sip from that was a really bad idea in that heat.
Hey, live and learn.
Well, yeah. I'll put ice water in the next one.
There you go. Now, have you gotten any feedback from fans of Hail of Bullets or anything about you? Now, I know because you're the singer is such a pivotal part of a band, and when they're gone, there's usually all kinds of feedback. Personally, I didn't see a whole hell of a lot when you got into Hail of Bullets, and what I did see was mostly positive. But did you deal with any kind of feedback from fans?
Not on a direct level. The only what I saw were comments on Facebook and online forums, and I would say 99% were positive. There was the odd one or two who were, that's it, I'm done with the band because I prefer Martin. Or they just don't like my vocals. Well, fair enough. That's absolutely fine. But the majority vote is a big hell yes.
Yeah.
And there was, in fact, one person who said that he went to the Death Fest and wasn't expecting a great deal of positivity, saw the set, and then said, that's it, I'm all in. I think it's a great idea that you joined. So that's... But people have different opinions. It's fine. What's that phrase? Opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And because I witnessed the same thing, just reading comments and checking the things out from the Maryland Death Fest and what people had to say. And there were a lot of people saying that, Hail of Bullets was one of the best acts they saw there. Maybe because you surprised them all, maybe they went in with low expectations. I really don't know, but they were saying that, how great it was. And I do have to say that, David, that a lot of times when, a new singer comes in, you hear so much crap, and when you came in there, Stephen had told me you were going to be in there, probably before you knew. But I was all I couldn't wait to actually hear this stuff, and I really think it's a perfect fit. It's like you've been there all along,
Yeah, I mean, the dynamic between the guys in the band is really good. I mean, okay, they're all Dutch and I'm English. So there's times when they speak together, I'm sort of trying to follow along, because I can speak Danish, but it's just not Dutch at all. And I'm not fluent in Danish either, by the way, but I've got enough. I've got a good job, and I've learned enough to get a good job. And after 18 years, I should have learned some of the damn language. But so when they're speaking Dutch together, I kind of feel a bit left out. But the sound man that came with us, Ronnie, he did a great job. He gave us the best sound I've ever heard a band have live that I've played in. And I was just amazed at his sound. And he's Swedish. So when we were all together, it's sort of an Englishman in Denmark, a Swede, and a bunch of Dutch guys. So we're all pretty much speaking English. And yeah, it's fun, and the camaraderie already. I mean, I've met the guys 3 times now. Like the 2 rehearsals and the gig. And it's like we're old friends.
That's what it seems like. That's what it seems like. I mean, for me, I'm like, oh, they must have been friends for freaking ever, and they're just like, hey, come on, join in. I had no idea that you were planting this seed on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, again, lesser magic.
Yeah. You got that shit down, David. So what's going on with Hail of Bullets now? I mean, do you know of, like, any kind of writing that they're doing or any kind of preparations for new albums? It's been, 3 years or something they're due?
Oh, yeah, they're definitely due now, especially. They've got a couple of projects of their other bands. I think Thanatos and Asphyx. They've got some things to get done. And then I believe that's going to be in the fall, in the autumn time, that they'll be free from those. And that's when Stefan's going to start writing, well, the whole band, actually, will start writing the new album. There's one song that Stefan came up with himself about 3 months before the gig. And he sent to me and said, what do you think? And I'm good at editing music and sort of chopping and changing, extending things. And there was parts of that song I thought, that needs to be longer there and that bit needs to be repeated. So I edited it around and, and also wrote the lyrics, recorded them and sent it back. And they were really pleased. They were chuffed. Ed said it was a thigh slapper. So...
That must be some kind of, Dutch term?
Yeah, it was a Dutch term. He translated it to thigh slapper. So.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so we got all kinds of things to look forward to from... You got all kinds of music making with all these different bands and projects that you're going to be doing. Do you have any shows coming up anytime for the rest of the year?
Yes, with Hail of Bullets, we've got the Eindhoven Metal Meeting in December the 16th, I believe we're playing. And then the very next day, on the 17th, Memoriam will be playing. So I'm staying an extra day so I can get to see them. Nice. So I've got to get to see them live. And also see the boys. I haven't seen them for ages. It's been a couple of years since I saw them. Carl and Frank. And Andy Whale, the drummer, I haven't seen him for, 15, 20 years maybe. Wow. And the guitarist, Scott, he's a bit of an idiot, so it doesn't really matter about him. I'm kidding. He's a good
I know, I can tell you got to be friends, because those are fighting words if you're not.
No, he was in a band in Birmingham, and for their debut gig, their singer couldn't make it. He had to go to a funeral or something. So they asked me to stand in about 2 days before the gig. And I had 2 days to learn all the songs. So I said, can I just make it up as I go along? And they said, yeah, sure. I said, you'll have to get me drunk first. So that's what happened. Damn, I can't even remember the band's name. Oh,
yeah, because you were drunk when all that happened. That's why.
Well, the only thing I had was song titles that I'd written for him. And maybe the first couple of lines. And then the rest was just like...
Well, Dave, half the time the audience is just as drunk as you guys are, so they don't freaking know. They just think it's great. There's a bunch of people up there. Everything's fantastic, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, everyone was having a good time. So.
Cool. So there you go. So so you got a couple of things going. You got that show going on. You got all kinds of writing and music making with all these different bands and projects, so you'll be keeping yourself out of trouble. And Dave, is there anything else that we got to know about?
Not that I can think of offhand. I was writing a book, but obviously with all the bands that came around, I put that like an autobiography, tour tales and stuff like that. But since we're touring again, there's more tour tales to come, so I might as well wait until it's all over and just do it then.
There you go. And now you got to make sure that you take a lot of pictures. You have somebody taking a lot of pictures so you can put them all in the book, because we like to see visual stuff when we read your personal shit too.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Dave. Well, you know what? Thank you for coming on the show and telling us about all your career. So much going on with you, everything you have coming up, and, best of success to you with all this stuff and working with Hail of Bullets and one of these days on that autobiography.
Oh, yes, indeed. And thank you for allowing me on the show.